of imagination.
So, good morning. I say morning because if you look up at the clock there, it's 7 a.m. It's early. I'm feeling tired, but I just wanted to come in. I've been coming in occasionally early to work on this, to move the project along. But today, we're going to be working on something pretty cool, which is the lock bar, which, you know, if you've played pinball, you've rested your palms on these. It's one of those things that holds in the glass. It's pretty important. We've also got, speaking of glass, and I'll close up on these later. This is a slot where the glass goes into, and also on the sides we've got these strips as well with channels, again for the glass. It's all about the glass. And then on the side rails. Now they look white only because they've got like a plastic coating on it, a peel back coating. I'll take that off when it's all said and done, but for the time being we're just going to install these on the side, and we're going to do that. I do actually have to take this back box off though, because the side rails runs underneath it and I have to secure it with a nail. So let's get to work. We're going to start with the glass channels. As you can see, this is the side of the cabinet. This has been routed out. Again, I bought the VPin flat pack, so this was already done, but there is a sort of a routed gap through here, and I've got the channel here. So you can see the glass slides in there. The one at the bottom is called the spine, and the spine just simply sits in the channel. It just sits in. There's nothing magical about it. It just rests inside it. So how easy is that? All right, let's go and do the other side. So the other side just sits in. One thing I do want to mention, before I put this in, I was going to do this the other day, but the top of this, I actually didn't paint this. Oh, sorry, it's out of focus. I didn't paint this the other day. I didn't paint it during the painting process, I mean. So when I put on the channel, there was like a white gap that I'd left. So I actually came along and just ran a brush just to get rid of any black, because you do kind of see, I could actually see it, and it annoyed me. So I just painted it, so it sort of delayed this process, because I didn't want to see bits of unpainted paint, because, you know, on the channel. So these are the channels. There's obviously a left channel and a right channel. It just simply sits over here. It's affixed by a couple of ways. There's a hole here for a carriage bolt, and there's the same at the other end. There's also double-sided tape. So it's very secure. It's a permanent installation. So once it's in, it's in. It simply sits over here. According to the manual, it's almost flush with the front. So I need to drill a hole here. The one at the bottom is attached with the carriage bolt. Hopefully you can see that. And the one at the back is just a screw. So I don't need to drill the one at the back, although I might put a sort of a pilot hole drill thingy in there. But the front needs to go there. So I need to align this perfectly. Because I'm using it's a fairly decent drill bit, because the carriage bolt is obviously fairly thick. I need to be careful that I don't tear up the decal. So I might use a knife just to cut out where I'm going to drill, and then I'll go ahead and just drill that in. So as I said, it's almost flush. So I'll leave a little bit of a black gap there, and then I'm just going to mark the front with a pencil, although I don't think you'll be able to see that, but we might be able to. Can you see that? Oh yeah, you can see that. And then I'll go ahead and just use an X-Acto knife. Just want to do a quick close-up on the drilling. Carriage bolts have a unique little head. So on the side rail is actually a square, so it stops it from turning. But you can sort of see a square thing there. So I need to go back with a slightly bigger drill bit so that this would fit in, you know, flush and comfortable. So that's why I went back and had to re-drill just the top part of the hole. So nothing's being screwed in yet. The goal now is to mount this to the side, and as you can see, I mentioned the double-sided tape. So essentially, again, according to the guidebook that I'm using, is you sort of place it here and then run some painter's tape to create a hinge. So, you know, I'll tape all the way here, fold this down, peel this off, and then stick it in. So the tape's been adhered, so I'm going to pop this out. This was just sort of to keep it straight, so I've got to get this out. And I'm just going to peel back this just to get this little bit exposed. Ooh, pretty. And then we'll drop that back in. That's nice. And then we've got the nut that goes on the other side. And then same again on the other side. We'll peel this off. I said we'll peel it off. This one looks a bit tight. Nice. So I'm at the other end, and this is confusing me a little bit. It's got the same square. These aren't carriage bolts. They're just nails with the spirals on them, but the head is too small, so I don't know why they gave me these for this, because, well, that's pointless putting that in unless you put a washer on it. You're not going to see it because the back box sort of comes over here. I won't put these in. That's a ridiculous waste of time, but I might actually buy some other bolts or fasteners or something, so I'm not going to worry about that. So we come up to another crucial part, which is the lock bar, and I'm not an expert, you know. I just read the guide, and I'm sort of playing with it and experimenting with it. So just, you know, your mileage may vary, but so I'm just going to do the best I can to explain what I'm doing, and then you know, hopefully it'll be of help. But it's essentially, it's two pieces. The lock bar, what this does is this holds the glass in the cabinet. You know, when you want to work in the machine, you actually have to take this part off, and the glass just slides down, and then you can have access to the cabinet. So this part here is mounted on the inside, and then this goes over the top once the glass is up. And then when you want to remove the glass, you simply go in through the coin door, move this latch, and this comes off, and then the glass will slide out. So essentially this just goes here. It's bolted in one here. I actually have to remove one of the coin door bolts. So one's going to go here. I have to drill 2 more holes on either side, and then that's it. That's all that needs to be done with the coin door. I'm sorry, with the lockdown bar. So before I go ahead and put the lock bar in, I just want to talk about the lock bar and all the side bars and the trim. So I keep mentioning VPin. It's an online company that sells kit sets and pinball parts, and the lock bar was part of a builder's kit, and you know, I can't recommend it highly enough. I mean, it's not cheap, but you know, it saves you so much time and anguish in looking for the right parts, because it's all assembled of everything you basically need for the cabinetry in terms of the stuff that goes on it. So it's separate from the cabinet. The cabinet is a flat pack. It's cut with a CNC machine, so it's all precision cut. But the actual components, like the lock bar, the side rails, the coin door, the legs, the brackets to hold the back box, sort of the carriage bolts, you know, an assortment of stuff that you need to put a pinball machine together. It's there. It was $420. That was for the standard. If you go for the wide box, it's a little bit more. So $420. I think that was the second most expensive purchase. The computer was the most expensive, but as a sort of a single purchase, $420 plus shipping. You know, and obviously you're paying. It's not light, so maybe $50 shipping. So again, VPin, I can't, you know, amazing quality. I mean, this is, you know, it's awesome. Yes, I don't know if you could DIY things like this, but it's there. And so, you know, if you think about doing a pinball machine, you know, they really set the stage for a really good project. So that's I'm not getting paid for this, you know, but I've highly recommended them and totally check them out. So hopefully this process will go quite simply. I've attached the lock bar. This part is called the receiver. I just learned that. The receiver and the lock bar goes on top. And then you just drop this in. There we go. So as I mentioned, the middle hole is shared with the coin door. So this one is good. I just go through here, put in here. I've got my lock nut. So I'm just going to screw this middle one in. Just semi-permanently, it's not attached. And so you can see that sits nicely. It sits where it's supposed to sit. There's very little to do. I mean, you just drop it in. And what I have to do now is drill 2 more holes for each side, for each other carriage bolt. You do like these carriage bolts. Before I do that though, I do want to talk about grounding, which I did in another video, which is essentially running a metal strap around the cabinet, goes to the legs. What it's supposed to do is protect any issues with voltage and grounding. So this metal strap touches, or is supposed to connect to, metal things that are on the cabinet, like the legs, which I did in the first video where I joined it to the leg brackets. This also has to touch this somehow, so it's going to actually sort of loop around one of the bolts here. It's also going to connect to the coin door, and essentially you're going to, or I'm going to, ground this to your mains of the power. So if there's any sort of electrical issue, the current won't drain through your body. It'll go through the strap and through the mains out of the house. So that's an important step. So I have to figure out how this is going to wrap around the bolts around this, so it's all touching with the coin door and the lock bar. So the receiver has been installed with the 2 carriage bolts at the front. I went ahead and just put this back thing here to hold the back glass, you know, the glass at the back, the channel. So now the proof that this is successful is the glass going in. So I'm going to go and grab the glass, and we're going to slide it in, and we're going to do this. Like a glove, I think, maybe. Look at that. Oh, that's perfect. What about them apples? It took 2 hours. It's 9 o'clock. 2 hours. That's not bad, but I'm really happy with that. I'll keep these on here. I mentioned before I keep the strips on because I'm doing obviously a lot more work in here. I want to protect the side as long as I can. But that's cool, right? The glass, the lock bar. Yeah.